What happens when faith, power, fear, and ambition collide? Imagine thousands of armored knights marching across continents, peasants abandoning their homes, kings risking everything, all for a holy city they believed God Himself demanded they reclaim. This is not just a story of war. It's a story of belief so powerful that it reshaped Europe, transformed the Middle East, and left scars that are still felt today. This is the entire history of the Crusades. To understand the Crusades, we need to understand the world in 1095. Europe was fragmented, divided into small kingdoms constantly fighting one another. Violence was common. Knights were trained for war, but there were few major conflicts to unite them. Meanwhile, Jerusalem, one of the holiest cities in Christianity, was under Muslim control. For centuries, Christian pilgrims had traveled there peacefully. But in the 11th century, a powerful new force emerged, the Seljuk Turks. In 1071, they defeated the Byzantine Empire at the Battle of Manzikert and began expanding deeper into formerly Christian lands. Desperate, the Byzantine emperor asked Western Europe for military help. That request would change history. In 1095, Pope Urban II stood before a massive crowd in France at the Council of Clermont. His message was simple but explosive. Christians in the East are suffering. The Holy Land must be reclaimed. God wills it. He promised forgiveness of sins to anyone who took up the cross and joined the campaign. For knights raised in violence, this was extraordinary. Fight in a holy war and secure salvation. The response was overwhelming. Not only trained soldiers answered the call, peasants, farmers, laborers, and even entire families joined what became known as the First Crusade. In 1096, they began their march. Before the main armies even reached the Middle East, chaos erupted. Poorly armed groups known as the People's Crusade traveled ahead. Along the way, some attacked Jewish communities in Europe. Thousands were killed. The Crusades were not only wars between Christians and Muslims, they unleashed violence across Europe itself. Eventually, the main Crusader armies reached the Middle East. Against incredible odds, they captured key cities like Nicaea and Antioch. Then, in 1099, they reached Jerusalem. After a brutal siege, they captured the city. What followed was a massacre. Contemporary accounts describe blood in the streets and widespread slaughter. The Crusaders established Christian kingdoms in the Holy Land. For a moment, it seemed their mission had succeeded, but their victory would not last. At first, the Muslim world was divided, but over time, a powerful leader emerged, Salah ad-Din, known in the West as Saladin. He united Muslim forces and, in 1187, defeated the Crusader army at the Battle of Hattin. Soon after, he retook Jerusalem. Unlike the earlier conquest, many Christian inhabitants were allowed to leave peacefully. The loss of Jerusalem shocked Europe. In response, European kings launched the Third Crusade. This crusade featured some of the most famous figures in medieval history, including Richard I of England, known as Richard the Lionheart. Richard became Saladin's most famous rival. They fought fiercely, yet respected each other as leaders. Despite several victories, Richard was unable to retake Jerusalem. Instead, they negotiated a treaty allowing Christian pilgrims safe access to the city. The Holy City remained under Muslim control. Over time, the Crusades began to change. What started as a mission to reclaim Jerusalem became increasingly political. In 1204, during the Fourth Crusade, something shocking happened. Instead of attacking Muslim territory, Crusaders attacked Constantinople, a Christian city. They looted it, burned parts of it, and severely weakened the Byzantine Empire. The Crusades had turned inward. Later campaigns targeted heretics in Europe and political enemies. Even a movement known as the Children's Crusade emerged, where thousands of young people set out toward the Holy Land, most never reaching their destination. The original spiritual purpose had become blurred by power struggles and ambition. By 1291, Muslim forces captured Acre, the last major Crusader stronghold in the Holy Land. After nearly 2 centuries, the Crusader states were gone. The Crusades were over, but their impact would echo through history. They increased trade between Europe and the Middle East. They exposed Europeans to new knowledge, goods, and technologies. They strengthened the authority of European monarchs. They weakened the Byzantine Empire, making it vulnerable to future conquest. And perhaps most significantly, they deepened divisions between Christians and Muslims that would shape centuries of tension. The Crusades were not simply holy wars. They were a collision of faith and ambition, devotion and brutality, hope and fear. They remind us how powerful belief can be and how dangerous it becomes when mixed with political power and human desire. History is rarely simple. The Crusades were not a story of pure heroes or pure villains. They were driven by people shaped by their time, people capable of courage, conviction, cruelty, and compromise. And if history teaches us anything, it is this. When we believe we are fighting for something sacred, we must be careful that we are not simply fighting for ourselves. The Crusades were more than wars over land. They were wars over identity, faith, and power. And their shadow still stretches across the modern world.